what's up guys, Maidenslave here, and today we're going to be talking about the masterpiece known as Painkiller, and holy fucking shit, what the hell happened? They fucking came out with an amazing album after a series of terrible albums. They really fucking came out with this just mind-blowing album out of the nowhere. They decided to change everything up. They went down a much more speed metal-y, aggressive, thrashy road type thing and stuff, and really it kind of actually started with them changing up drummers. Finally they got rid of Dave Holland, their 80s drummer. As I mentioned in Ram It Down, he kind of got a little bit too old. They had to use a drum machine on Ram It Down. They brought in a guy by the name of Scott Travis, and he was in a band called Racer X. Scott Travis is by far the best drummer to ever be in Judas Priest. I mean, I don't think he's the best drummer of all time. I probably honestly wouldn't even put him on a top 10 or a top 5 list, but he really saved Judas Priest. He really gave them a lot of energy that they needed. They really sounded tired on Turbo and Ram It Down. It's just like, it seems like their whole style of writing changed once he came into the band, because his style of playing was so much different. It was so much more aggressive. He knew what he was doing behind the kit. And he really just kind of supercharged Priest and probably really inspired them with his young enthusiasm and really produced an excellent product. And, you know, as I mentioned before, Judas Priest always kind of flirted around with the double bass drum type stuff. Some albums more than others, but really, man oh man, it was all over this album. This is arguably a speed metal or a thrash album. It really is. Here comes this old band. They really were old. A lot of people don't realize this, but they really were old. This was their 12th studio album. I mean, they were even older than the New Wave, and the New Wave of British heavy metal was considered to be pretty old at this point too. And here they are, running with the young guns again, just like they did 10 years before with British Steel and the New Wave of British heavy metal. They came out and they actually made an album that really contributed with this whole movement of speed, aggression, and just pure energy came out. It just, you know, it's hard to even talk about. It's one of the most well-constructed, well-assembled heavy metal albums of all time. From start to finish, it is a complete and utter masterpiece. Every single song on this album is unique, it's different, it's distinct, it's of its own nature, it offers something else, but at the same time there is a certain unity that combines this whole album. It really has this industrial feel, which Judas Priest captured perfectly on this album. This really is Judas Priest magnum opus. And unlike all of the young thrash bands that were around at the time, Judas Priest had something that they didn't. That is Rob Halford, probably the best metal vocalist of all time, and his performance on this album is phenomenal. He really, not only did he just come with his normal performance, which is fucking amazing, but he really started to change his style. He got a lot more aggressive, and obviously Judas Priest had this phenomenal, arguably the best twin attack in metal history on this album. So this album, it just offered so much more than your average speed metal album. Really, it did. It's Judas Priest, and it's just like a fucking amazing album. It really, all the stars aligned for me with Judas Priest on this album. Yeah, fantastic shit. Obviously, you can tell I'm a big fan of this album. Really, the artwork's amazing. They brought back the creature type vibe with the Painkiller on the front, with that fucking motorcycle. Have you ever even looked really close at that motorcycle? It's like a dragon or something with a fucking razor blade. It's like pure metal. It has that badass angel on it that we're all familiar with now. And apparently, that angel was actually inspired by the angel on Sad Wings of Destiny, kind of like a mecha version of it. Really, it's like a robot with metal and all this shit. Painkiller is also an album that kind of bridges the gap in a lot of areas, and you can argue that it actually spawned off a new movement. As I mentioned on Ram It Down, I said that they could have made some kind of new movement with aggressive music, but with like good clean choruses and stuff like that. And there's a lot of bands these days that are very aggressive. It's actually becoming the norm, that are very aggressive, very melodic at the same time, and they have a lot of clean vocals. So it's pretty debatable that Painkiller really influenced a lot of new bands. It's like, I'm trying to get you guys to understand how amazingly unique this situation is on Painkiller. The fact that they made another album, their 12th album, that inspired so many more generations to come after this when they already did it several times and several decades before this. I mean, really, after this album, this band could have just stopped all completely and they would have still been remembered as one of the best metal bands of all time. Not to mention, just for the short period of time, they were trying to make up, kind of getting off track on the past few albums that they got all caught up in. Production, fantastic. It's one of those albums that has the perfect amount of everything. The guitar sound is probably the best guitar sound I've ever heard on a Priest album. Obviously the drums are immaculate. The vocals are awesome. To this day, it still is one of the best sounding albums that I've ever heard. First song is the title track, Painkiller. And I'm pretty sure everybody in the fucking world is familiar with this song, especially the amazing drum intro slash solo. One of the best and catchiest. That's really important with a drum intro. Drum intros. Period. I mean, right off the bat, they did the right thing, and they let us know that not only do we have a new drummer, but he's like no other drummer you've ever heard in this band. And in the first couple of seconds of the song, you know right off the bat, this is going to be an incredible album. It's going to be an incredible experience. The song itself is phenomenal. It is aggressive. It is melodic. The vocals are unparalleled. The solos on this song are absolutely phenomenal. On this entire album, you are going to get some of the best guitar solos you have ever come across in your entire life. One of the most unique things that I found on this album with the solos is oftentimes they will turn into riffs, and from there the band and the song will go on to the next. Very progressive in a way, very unique. It's just like you feel like you're moving. You really feel like you're going somewhere, like this album is going somewhere, and it is a phenomenal song. Next song is called Hell Patrol, and they slow it down a little bit. Very clever. One thing about this album is it flows super well. It really does. Hell Patrol, like I said, it's a bit of a slower song. The chorus is extremely catchy. It is done right. The solos are phenomenal. You know, at every point on this album where you think that Judas Priest is going to kind of slip back into their old ways, get too repetitive, and their music is going to get kind of boring, they change it up right when you start thinking this is a little bit too repetitive. All of a sudden they go off and do something completely different, which is very, very characteristic of more thrash or progressive type music, which made this album so brilliant. Hell Patrol is amazing. Next song is called All Guns Blazing. Comes in with an amazing vocal by Rob Halford. Very similar actually to Ram It Down. I actually like that song a lot. And this song is one of the faster songs on the album, one of the more aggressive songs on the album. The drumming's phenomenal. The solos are phenomenal. It's just another really fucking awesome song. Next song is called Leather Rebel, and this kind of gets back to that old Priest, like Hellbent for Leather. And finally they made a real song, or at least another song, about this kind of fictional character that they have created, and it comes in with an amazing guitar riff, very melodic guitar riff actually. I really liked it a lot. The song itself is amazing, another really, really catchy chorus. I really liked it a lot. Next song is called Metal Meltdown. This is one of the heaviest fucking metal songs, period. The solo to open it completely captures what I was talking about with the unparalleled production on this album. It's like if any other band tried to do that intro, it wouldn't sound as clean, it wouldn't sound as big. Just phenomenal guitar playing. The song itself is another more speed metal-y-esque type songs. Very fast, very aggressive, very melodic, very awesome. Shit, just another really, really great song. Next song is called Nightcrawler. Another phenomenal song, actually. The chorus is extremely catchy, extremely melodic, and I really, really, really liked it. Between the Hammer and the Anvil is the next song, and this is probably a personal favorite of mine because I don't know why. I just always like this song so much. It just comes in with a very heavy but kind of simple chord progression with the guitar. Just a riff, really, and there's just something about this progression. It's like, it's so simple, and it's like they didn't probably have to think too hard about it, but it's one of those things that it's like, it's simple but so effective, and it's like, it just makes for a really good song, and the way that the rest of the band comes in, it's just phenomenal. Really, it still feels like you're just moving. It's constantly changing. Every single little sound bite on this album is just phenomenal. It really is. The performance, production, everything. It really kind of feels again like they were making probably their last album ever, and it would be their last album for a long time. But anyways, yeah, Between the Hammer and the Anvil is a phenomenal song. The next song is called A Touch of Evil. And originally I actually kind of had a problem with this song, to be honest with you. I don't know why. I just, for a long time, it wasn't really rubbing me right. I don't think I ever gave it quite enough of a chance until recently. I finally gave it a full chance with an open mind. And the thing that saved it for me was the musical interlude. It gets really kind of slow out of the nowhere. You don't really expect things to get slow on this album, but they do. And when they actually do, it's so effective because this is such an aggressive album that when you actually get that breath of air after being kind of beat around and kind of just taken off on this crazy motorcycle, roller coaster ride, whatever you want to call it, when you get to these slow moments, it feels great. And not to mention just the music itself, the way it was written, is just beautiful. I really like the interlude, and A Touch of Evil is really a great song again. And the last two songs are pretty much connected. The first being Battle Hymn, which is an instrumental, very short, but really, really good. It's just so melodic, really. This is one of the more melodic sections on the album. Pretty much, it's like this album shows you that Judas Priest can do it all. It really does. They do everything on this album for you. They really do. And not only do they do it, but they set the bar, making it just mind-blowing, really. Anyways, Battle Hymn goes into One Shot at Glory, which is just a fucking great way to end a fucking amazing album. Really is. One Shot at Glory is definitely one of the more melodic, one of the bit of a slower song, but it's like an old-fashioned Maiden song. Slower, yes, heavy, really heavy, and very melodic vocals. Shows off the softer side a little bit of Rob Halford's vocals. And there was a couple bonus songs on this album. One of them actually was recorded during the session of Painkiller. I think it's called Living Bad Dreams, or I'm Living Bad Dreams. And it's a pretty good song. It doesn't really change my opinion either way with this album. It doesn't make it any better, it doesn't make it any worse. This album, it's just already fucking amazing, and yeah. So what else can I say about Painkiller? I mean, good God, it's one of those albums. It really, that's all I can say to you guys, and I'm pretty sure all of you guys have listened to it, and you know what I'm talking about. It really is just one of those albums, and I think that the only thing that people don't really think about too much when they hear Painkiller, or when they think about it, is the fact that this band was around for so long. They weren't that young when they made this album. I can't recall of any other band making that many significant albums and kind of rolling through that many different genres like that, just constantly evolving. And I mentioned this all the way back on Rock-A-Rolla, how they would do this so many times. They had these highlights that just kind of changed the way they played as music was changing with them and around them, really. And Painkiller is just the ultimate example of what I was talking about when I mentioned that they're just constantly evolving. To me, I would say Painkiller is probably the best album Judas Priest has ever done, without a doubt. I like a lot of their other albums for different reasons, but if somebody was going to say to me or ask me what's their best album, I would say Painkiller right off the bat. It has everything. It has everything from their entire career in it that was good. Really, it does. And it probably would go on a top 10 metal albums for me, without a doubt. At least a top 10 that you need to have in order to appreciate any kind of metal that came after it. You need to have listened to this album, Painkiller. It revived Priest. It solidified Priest forever. It changed the game. It's an amazing album. It flows well. All the songs are so good. It showed the world that they could still write really good music. They could adapt. And you know, there's just nothing else I can say about it except if you haven't listened to it, you must listen to it before you listen to any other heavy metal albums. You need to listen to Painkiller. So I'm going to give Painkiller by Judas Priest a 10 out of 10. Later, guys.